Here we are again, the Riverwalk, and something on my mind lately to talk about, and I suppose you could call it the limitations of the internet. But really what I'm getting at, what I will be getting at, is that in a sense the internet is nothing but a limitation. What I mean by that is when you consider your view, your perspective on things, subjects, larger subjects, the world, and when you go to your screen, especially the telephone, smartphone, to look into these things. A good example is a navigator. So in the old days, when you were taking a trip, you would have a map, paper map printed, so say you were going to some city, and could be anything, could be Albuquerque or whatever, and you would have this map and you could see the whole city, outlying areas also, and you had a complete picture, and you could but anyway, on the navigator on the phone, you can't do that because the screen's not big enough, and it's can be irritating at times. And it's like, well, I want to see the bigger picture here, and it's like, okay, so you zoom out and then all the detail disappears. Well, similarly, that also happens with all kinds of other information. So say, for example, you go to a gigantic Library of Congress, or the large public library, and you look and you see, say you go to a particular section of the library, it could be history or film or whatever, or fiction, and you look at the shelves and you see everything all at once. And you can't do that with the internet. You can't do it. This works in all sorts of ways, so all sorts of levels. So you might imagine, okay, well, the internet is such a wonderful way to look things up and find information. But what'll happen is that you might find a bit of information, but the locale of the information and other related information around it remains invisible. So you might find a factoid about something or some detail, but then all the related information is hidden. So you might say that in a sense it's like tunneling, or like wearing blinders. So whereas like out here, you see everything 360 degrees in all directions, and then if you're wearing blinders, you only see what's straight ahead. And of course, if you're on the internet, then it's like looking down a tiny tunnel. So anyway, that is not a good thing. This plethora of free information masquerading as some sort of technological blessing, when in fact it is like wearing blinders. Now, to jump over to something else on the internet, which is news cycle, no matter where you happen to be looking at it. The thing about the news that I've observed is that the stories come in two varieties. One you might call the car accident. So this is something that's grisly and horrible, yet when you see it, you recoil, but at the same time you have to look. So we have all probably seen, when there's a car accident and the car is driving by, they slow down and they're peering and they're looking around to see where's the blood, where's the body. They don't necessarily want to see that, but nonetheless, they put a lot of effort into trying to see that. So that's one aspect of it. That's one type of story, and there are only two. The other type of story is a judgment opportunity. So someone out there, could be a criminal, could be a politician, well, what's the difference there? And they did something bad, could be local news. Oh, someone did something bad, there's a robbery, there's a murder, there's a theft. And so in a way, it's like the car accident. It's not as grisly, but because it's personalized, you get to look at that and say, oh, what a bad person. And by comparison, you get to be the good person. So it's basically judgment. So you got the car accident and the opportunity for judgment. I did a cartoon, or have I done this one yet? Maybe I have. It's basically judge not, like Christ said in the Bible and everything, unless the opportunity presents itself. And of course, the opportunity is presenting itself all over the place all the time. It's not healthy for the psychological makeup of the citizenry. It's parasitical, it's unhealthy, but it's rampant, it's everywhere. So recently, I have completely turned off the news cycle. I recommend others do the same if you're capable of it. Because if you haven't seen a story yet that will turn your stomach, it's coming. Who's that guy, Noel? I can't remember. Some media guy, and he's very popular and makes these shows and things like that and talks about things and tries to humorize current events. It's like, okay, well, this is a bit of fluff, entertaining. It's like one day he made a video. He's making a joke about fisting, and I hope I don't have to explain what that is. It's like, okay, you went a little too far, and don't think I need to do that anymore. Another thing that's happened recently, coincidentally a couple of times recently, is that I've encountered people face to face, social situations, and in each case they began the conversation, and after a little while, not too long, it turned toward religion, a specific aspect of it, which was demons and Satan. Right. And so I've run into this before, and there's I don't know how much of it out there. I suppose a fair amount when people I was talking about judgment earlier, the opportunity, and the belief in the existence of these evil forces is in a way like that. It's prejudgment. So you've already made a judgment about forces that are evil. But anyway, it doesn't get very, logically examined, because what'll happen, oh, beautiful snail in the shell. What'll happen is that it's not about that. It's not about examining it. They'll just basically turn to scripture and start quoting scripture at you, which is what happened in the last case. And anyway, so, people are capable of acts of good and acts of evil. That's kind of a overgeneralization, but I'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, to imagine that there are these entities out there that are completely evil. Okay, well, Satan fell from grace or got kicked out of heaven or something like that. Well, he was in heaven for a while. Maybe he was annoying and irritating. Maybe he did everyone a favor by leaving. Maybe, God should have gratitude that he took a vacation. But at any rate, if these entities exist, are they capable of true, pure, undiluted, 100% evil? And they might say yes, of course, but it's very difficult to pin down exactly what's absolutely evil, because any evil act is not 100%. It has aspects that are good. So, cutting the foreskin off a baby's penis, tremendous cruelty, and tremendous pain and trauma for the child. But there are supposed benefits from it. I don't know that much about the medical aspects of that, but that's just an example. So there are no real absolutes here. But to get back to why people will promote this sort of idea is because it's like sympathetic resonance. It's like you got a tuning fork over here, you hit it, boing, and it's vibrating on a certain frequency. There's another one over here, it will start vibrating as well because it's picking up waves from the first tuning fork. And so what happens is, when it comes to this idea of evil, it's like, why in the world would people be so obsessed and resonating with so-called demonic, forces? It's because they have that capacity within themselves. They are resonating with it. And then again, they're also in denial of it. So it's a very strange situation to be in. It's sort of a mental trap. It's what cults operate, the level they operate on. It's what religions operate on. And, this woman, she mentioned something about, how reincarnation was baloney. You only have one chance. When you die, that's the end. If you're visited or you a ghost or whatever it is, it's a demon. It's all, demonic. And that simplifies things down to a point where, it's a rabbit hole. It's a real trap. So anyway, but I suppose people have to work through things like that. But unfortunately, the trouble with this dogmatic religion, it's been designed to not offer any kind of escape route. And if you do escape, you're, demons, you can blame them or whatever. So now the last thing on my mind today is observation of things and looking at things through different lenses. So, for example, you could take maybe human health. Say you have health issues and you go to a doctor, and the doctor takes blood samples and blood pressure and all sorts of other things, tests like that, but never once asks you what you're eating or takes you home and looks in your refrigerator. So that's looking at things through one lens and leaving out, nutrition. Well, all these other ways of looking at things. And for example, when you take politicians, they like to look at things as, business and economics and, a little bit of religion maybe. We all know the divisions in partisan politics. But, people still, will go partisan, and they'll expect their chosen one to lead them out of the darkness and fix problems and things like that. Well, you can look at any of these people, look at their track record, look at how they voted, look at all these things, but you'll never hear much people looking at them in terms of psychology. So it's funny with Senior Trump in the beginning, many psychologists came forward and pointed out his obvious clinical narcissism in his behavior. You don't hear much of that anymore because I suppose it doesn't adequately feed the news cycle, or maybe he's paying them to stop. I don't know. But at any rate, where we are, especially in this country with our leadership, all these people, mainly men, who are, in charge of passing legislations and handling all these other details, truth be told about them, on a psychological level, they're not interested in doing anything for anyone else, or if they are, it's secondary. Basically, that personality type, their number one priority that they pursue is simply to be seen, to be in the public eye, to be looked at, to be noticed. They may have been probably behaving this way their whole lives. So, once you're the president, you can Well, like what Trump did, exploiting the news cycle all the time, 24/7, say any damn thing to get his face in the news. On the other hand, Biden, who doesn't do that, he's basically, doing things and trying to get things done and things like that, and he's remaining largely hidden. And man, it doesn't seem like the media likes that. They want him to join in the circus. So by him not doing that, they're having a lot of negative things to say, but it's hard they're having trouble finding data for that. So they'll say, oh, well, polls say that this, say that the approval is down, things like that. Anyway, I'm not trying to get political, but as I said, the main point is that these things get, politicians are not interested in helping people. They're not really interested truly in doing the job that we think that they're there for, which is to help us fix things, address problems, and understand the systems that we have and work within them. So that's not a good thing, not a good place for things. And it might make you question what the alternative is. What can we do? What kind of person do we really need to help us? And what I would say to that is that you don't. You basically need to fix yourself. You need to work on yourself, and don't expect some messiah, politician, or demon, or whatever to come along and do it for you.